How you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good.
How's your day?
Oh yeah, my day has consisted of getting up and having some coffee and having a chat. So it's
Nice.
yeah, it's good. We've been so busy
Awesome.
that it's nice to stay still for a few days, which we are doing.
For sure. Are you on a small break right now?
Yeah, we're south of Houston, and I start rehearsals with Daryl Hall and his band tomorrow.
Nice. That's
Mm.
exciting. So usually I have you introduce yourself since people can't see you and tell people about your journey to music.
Okay. Um, Hey, my name is Glenn Tilbrook. I play solo and I play, my band is Sqeeze. My journey into music started before I can remember. My parents were sort of big jazz fans, so there was Ella Fitzgerald and Wes Montgomery, Frank Sinatra, people like that. Records played in the house all the time. And so that sunk into me before I was even aware that it was happening. It's a form of indoctrination, but what a lovely indoctrination it was. And then I had an elder brother who started buying records by the Beatles and the Kinks.
Nice.
So that also sunk in. And then, of course, the big thing that happened to me initially was the Monkeys. Well, I didn't care if they didn't play their own instruments or anything like that. What I absolutely loved was their TV show, Knocking
Mm-hmm.
for Six, and I love their music. And I still love most of it today.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough, actually, about 4 months ago, to walk to the elevator in my New York City hotel, and standing there waiting for a lift was Mickey Dolenz. And
Nice.
it's really, he was such a sweet man. He had that sort of slightly old person's. I introduced myself and said I'd submitted a song for their last album, but it didn't make it through in time. Um, and he was very, very gracious and lovely. My introduction to music, I just absolutely adored it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to my first gig when I was 13. Saw a band called Tia No, they're an Irish duo. And then the first big gig I saw was also in 1971, was when I went to see T-Rex, who were at the height
Nice.
of their fame. Yeah. So the Electric Warrior album had just come out, and they were doing absolutely crazy business in the UK. And for a big gig, it was a full-on girls screaming, people going absolutely mental, the smell of urine hanging in the air. It's true. It's true. But on and on it went. I've always loved music. I've always been fascinated by it, and I think I don't really have a filter as far as what is um, going in. I like all sorts of different stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I like a lot of contemporary music, and that works its way into what I do as well, and how I hear things.
Nice. Do you think early on there was a real like aha moment for you where you realized like, okay, this is what I want to do? Not that you just love music, but that's what you wanted your life to be about.
I wish I could say that it was that conscious, but it wasn't really. It was all I was interested in, and
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't like I had a plan. But
Right.
that's all I wanted to do. I remember going to uh, when I left school when I was 15, and you had this thing at the time where you go and see a careers officer, and you talk to them about what you wanted to do. So I talked to my careers officer about music. I said I'd like to get a job, something to do with music. He said, "Okay, well, there's a sheet metal work factory in Plumstead. Why don't you go and have a look there?" It's like that. At the time, these sort of people were so beaten down and uninterested in their work that they couldn't even be bothered to feign any sort of interest in what you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was 14, I met Jules Holland, and a year later, I met Chris Difford.
Mm-hmm.
And sometime after that, I kept those worlds separate for a while, and then I introduced them. Really, as soon as Chris Difford and I met, we started writing a lot. And as soon as we didn't have an awful lot else to do, we wrote so many songs in the first 2 years we were together. It was incredible.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
It's like certain people get together and there's just like that spark, and you can ignite each other's like flame, and it kind of just makes them for some really interesting music or art, or that's really cool.
Yeah, we lived half a mile from each other, and so
yeah,
we were truly local, and we both of our strengths were in different areas, so that's what made us such a great team.
Yeah. And did you actually meet him because he posted an ad because he wanted to make music, or is that just like a folklore?
No, that's true. He said he had a band and a recording deal and touring work, which is an early example of his economy with the truth. But he did have himself, and as soon as we met and I heard him play some of his songs, I was absolutely blown away with what he could do. And very soon afterwards, he started giving me lyrics. And lyrics weren't my strong thing, but I could do tunes a lot. So we just wrote, and it was really fruitful.
How did you guys come up with the name for Sqeeze?
It was the name of a Velvet Underground album that was made after Lou Reed and John Cale left, and that made us laugh. So I think at the time we sort of dismissed that record, although actually I've come back to it and it's a really good record.
Nice.
Squeezed by the Velvet Underground, yes.
Yeah. I think sometimes in life we don't necessarily appreciate an album because we haven't maybe lived the experience that like inspired them to write it yet. But then, over time we kind of do have those experiences and it changes our perspective.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It was actually playing in a restaurant that I went to, and I asked the guy who works there, who is this? And he said, it's the Velvet Underground, it's Sqeeze. Wow. It was a little moment for me.
Nice. That's always really cool, too. And that's like a full circle moment, yeah. Do you feel like you got any advice early on in your career that you've carried with you that's been very valuable to you?
Well, I guess Miles Copeland, who was our first manager, said we needed to keep things simple, and sort of, in a way, not dumbed down, but just streamline what we were doing. And it was good advice because it was good to appear to be simple, because we were writing complex songs that we couldn't necessarily always play or play them well enough, So with the emergence of new wave music and the R&B thing that was going on in the UK in 1975, we sort of managed to fit ourselves into that. And it was a good learning curve for us, but as soon as we could, we got back to where we've been before, which is more complex.
I think that's always interesting to look back at like how things change over time and kind of even advice that you receive probably over time makes more sense, or even sometimes you realize like it was not good advice, or
yes.
Based on all the changes that we have now with technology, what do you see for the future of music?
I'm as clueless now as I ever have been about what the future holds. Music is still holding up. The gatekeepers are still the gatekeepers. That hasn't changed. It's increasingly hard to earn a living. Being at the position I'm in my life, I feel very privileged that it's the way that I make my living, and it always has been. I think it's good. I think it's harder for young people now, and but stuff always happens, doesn't it? It evolves, it changes. It's the same as it ever was.
You have a show coming up here soon in Indy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's at Tobias Theater, I want to say, in Newfields. Oh yeah, Friday, April 4th. Okay.
Yes.
So for that, people that might have known you from Sqeeze might maybe hear some of that, but they'll also get to hear your solo work, right?
Yeah, I did one show that I've been really intrigued by, and I've been thinking about what I'm going to do. I think I think I might try and do more of a sort of theatrical presentation with more talk. I'm saying this off the top of my head, so it might not happen. But I think what I managed to do when I did that was to weave in all the influences that have made me the person I am, and also talk about songwriting, and hopefully not disappear too much up my own ass.
Well, I think it's exciting in a way to, once you kind of branch out and do your own thing, it's exciting to like go back and revisit what you did first. And maybe you don't even feel the same way about it anymore.
Well, I don't know if you know about this at all, but Sqeeze have recorded 2 new records, none of which are out yet, neither of which are out yet. But one of them is a set of songs that we wrote in 1974 called Trixies. And I'm amazed, because it's such a long time ago, we didn't have a deal. And as I said, we were writing lots and lots of stuff. So we just moved on, and that set of songs got pushed to one side. But coming back to them, they're fresh, and I'm very proud of my 16-year-old and Chris's 19-year-old selves for being able to do, first of all, the amount of work that we did, and secondly, that the quality of it is really good. So we've recorded that set of songs, and there's very little we had to do to make it absolutely, shine.
Nice.
Yeah.
That probably feels really rewarding to be able to use something now that maybe for a long time you felt like you kind of just did the work for yourself and not really for anything else, and now it's like becoming something else. That's
it's becoming something else, and also, I'm really intrigued by, our heads in 1974. If you think rock and roll was 20 years old at that point, and so it had only gone so far. There was so much more to do. There's so much more to absorb, but none of that had happened. So our palette was quite, what we could draw on then was very different from what we have today. And I love the difference in that. And I love the purity of our distilling process in all that. It's good. Our ears and our talent, I'm very, very proud of.
Nice. That would be almost interesting to see as like a compilation where you did new versions, like based on how you would do it now, and then you could put them next to each other and like compare, like this is how we did it then, and then like the seasoned version.
The thing is that what I know from there are recordings of Sqeeze. We did really like reel to reel, very basic recordings of what we did with a set of songs, which is called Trixies. And the thing is, we weren't good enough players to do the songs proper justice, but we were very enthusiastic. So now we can play the songs absolutely properly, but the songs don't need changing. They stand up. That's the skills that we were lacking were in musicianship, and also like production, arrangement, all that stuff we've applied to the songs, and they can stand it.
Yeah, that's super cool though. Like I think it's nice that you have that to look back on too, because how many people can say that they have like, parts of their, basically your childhood, because you weren't that far into your adulthood at that point, like,
Yeah,
and you have it, that raw, unfiltered version of you.
that short of time for us.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's going to be exciting for people that have never got to see you to come and check you out on the 4th, April 4th, at the Tobias Theater. Don't forget, everyone listening.
Cool. That's
Um,
great.
well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and kind of give me a little bit of, insight into your journey into music and sharing your seeds of wisdom. I appreciate that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for taking the time, Amanda. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah. All right. See you there. Come and say hello.
Awesome. Thank
All right.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Hey guys, it's Amanda. Want to let you know on 420, I'd like you to follow me to Sam's Silver Circle because Happy Hour presents a very adult on Easter. It's an Alice in Wonderland themed Easter party. We're going to do games, prizes, we're going to have raffles, there's going to be a free Easter egg hunt. We're going to have all the cold beer, all the good friends, plenty of local vendors for you to check out. We're going to have some free treats. Killer Bacon is going to be there collabing with Sam's Silver Circle on a really cool pizza. We have a couple burlesque dancers at 8 o'clock. And yeah, it's a free event. So come on out, Sam's Silver Circle, 4 to 9 on 420. Sponsored by Cinema Scares, Sex Hair Entertainment, and of course, our friends at Nuvo. So we'll see you there. Don't forget.